So we are on the second tutorial of Slowbreak. Now in this tutorial I'm going to first install Slowbreak, that is quite easy, and then show how to make messages that will be used to be sent to the server. So I will explain a little bit how messages work. This is a not advanced lesson, so on a different one I will explain how groups work. So for now, first thing first, we need to install Slowbreak. That's the easiest thing ever. You do just pip install Slowbreak. It will install Slowbreak and 6, that is the only dependency you can see here. And then I'm going to open the console. I'm going to use IPython because it just has code completion and stuff like that. So you can use standard Python. This is standard Python with IPython. So first things first, in order to do messages, you have to import the message class. So we're going to do that from slowbreak.message, that is the module import message. Then, once we have the message, you can see the documentation for the constructor and the class and stuff. Here we see that it receives a list of pairs of tag and value. The message fixed messages as interpreted by the Slowbreak philosophy are just a list of pairs of tags and values. The list has an order. It's because it's supposed to not have it was supposed originally to not have an order, but then they did things that the order matters, and then they put it that in the specs when they did group and stuff, but also on the implementations, there are certain tags that have to go first. And for instance, if you're using quick fix, the header fields should be before the other fields, the application message fields. So even if Slowbreak does not have this limitation, it's better to have control on the ordering of the tags. So if we want to do a message, we can just do one. Let's say message, and then you have to pass a list of pairs. We will just put one pair, let's say 1, and on the data value we need to put a binary string. We are in Python 6, so we are prepending a b. So this is a valid Slowbreak message, and if you see it, you will see a thing that you can paste and construct the message. This is another object, and also Slowbreak will help you a little bit to do the messages. For instance, if you pass, let's say, a thing that is not, if the first part is not an integer, then it will say, hey, first thing is not an integer and are pairs of integers and binary strings. So you cannot do that. So let's say, then you say, okay, the first one is an integer. So they say, okay, but the second one is not a binary string. So we make it a binary string, and then it works. You can add several one. Let's say you add a different one. And now you're getting quirky and say, okay, I'm going to put 2 binary strings there. You say, no. The parts are pairs, not 3 things. So it will just tell you to not do these things. So that's when you're doing it like that, sounds silly, but then you're programming and you're building stuff and you make it the wrong type, and these things save a lot of development time. So with that, I'm going to do a real message. What in Slowbreak, we will see in future episodes, we have a thing that's called a session app that actually handles the message and does stuff. In order to do a message that it's actually useful for to be sent to a market, we need to do a message that has certain properties. So first things first, we have a couple of constants we use. For instance, we have a Slowbreak constant module, and you can import all the possible message types. So then you can do things like message type. Let's say you want to, I don't know, get an executive report, execution report, yeah. And then you know the execution report is an 8. And also you can name the tags, and then let's say you want the side, and side is 54. Side means either buy or sell. So you have a lot of constants that all the fields defined in fix 5.1 SP2, and all the constants, all the message types are there for you to use. But when I do programming, I prefer to not use those. Maybe I'm using the message types, but the actual fields, I prefer to put the number, because all the all the specs I saw actually put the number there, so the number is important. And when you're talking with support and discussing how things went wrong, you say, okay, tag 69 has this value, and then you're rejecting this, and then you're not saying the name of 69 that I don't even remember which one is it. So actually I prefer to use the numbers to program, but I use the message types. I don't know. It's up to you. So with that, I'm going to do an order that can be used. Something like that can be used to actually do an order in Rofex. I mean, I'm being clear. Uh, Rofex is one of the markets in Argentina. Is 5.0 SP2 fixed, but even though it's like that, every market has its quirks. So I assure you that you will have to code a little bit different for every market. That's part of the reason of why Slowbreak is as is, and we don't enforce the messages, because if we are too heavy on how we check that the messages are correct, then a lot of implementations fall out of what we can do, and that's a pity. So we're lax on a lot of things, like we don't enforce that certain fields have to be there or not have to be there, or have to have certain formats in the values. So we don't do that on purpose, because on our experience, it it generates problems. But for a single, when you're implementing for a market, then you will have to take care of all these little details and solve that, of course. So, and actually, if you need help, usually you can hire me for consulting. Okay, anyway, so so if we need to do let's say we want to buy something, so in this message we need to say that we have some account. The account is something that is dependent on uh, on the on the market, how the format is, what you have to put there. So for now, I'm going to say that's an account, And we need a client order ID. That's the order. When you send orders in Fix in general, you need to identify them with a unique identifier. And that's because uh, you don't know if they actually reached there or not, so you have to be able to query for them. So it will, so you need to, for a lot of things, the things that are things that you cannot do twice, like you cannot put the order twice, because if you do it again, it will have like two orders, and we don't want that. Sometimes we don't want that. So, and we want to be able to say this order is the same as the other one or not. So we do is we put the client order ID to identify the order there. I'm just putting variables for now, and then we need the type of the order. This is like market or limit or something. I'm going to put limit there. These types depend on on this on the market you're connecting to. And then let's say the price of the thing we want to buy is 12.50. I'm just doing something, and I want to buy 1,000 of those. Why? I don't know. So this will have the. Sometimes you have to specify the currency, but we will not do that in this example. So it will have the default currency for market. And we need to say we are buying it. So we have to say the side is 1, that it means buy, 2 is sell usually. I mean, it's in this fixed spec, but I don't trust that. And for last, we need to buy something with a symbol. So we put the symbol there. In Rofex, we just put the symbol. In our markets, we need to put our stuff. So I will go with this for now, just for the simplicity. And then we have to do one more thing, that is to put a timestamp. That's the field 60. And for doing that, we need to calculate the timestamp. The easiest thing to do in Python, what I do is just import datetime, and then you can use datetime.utc now. If you see that, it will give you the time in UTC. UTC, I mean, all these times in Fix are in UTC, so you need to use UTC now. So after having UTC now, we have to format it properly. So it's string time. So this is just the format that complies with the Fix specification, as far as I can tell. It definitely allows us to connect to Rofex because we tested that. But so if you do that, you have the string, but we need it to be binary strings, I was saying before. So we are going to encode as ASCII. So there we have all the things. So we have all the things we need to send the order. So in order to do the message object, we are going to do message. That is a message that will have. Field 35 is a special field. That means is the type of the message is always the first field you will put in messages. And I mean in messages that are going to be sent to the market. I'm going to explain this in our videos. So then we are going to make the account, that is the field number 1 and the client order ID. This one should change on every order. Probably we usually generate something like an uuid.uid4.x or something. It needs to be unique. Maybe you have a database somewhere and has a primary key with the orders you're doing, then you can use that and something else like let's say a string that says hey, those are my orders, and then you have that as client order ID. Anyway, then we need to put the size of the order. So we are going to put field 38 at its size. If you look at, I didn't, but if you look at, you will see that 38 is field its size. So here, what we're going to do is a little trick that is formatting in Python. So we are saying this is a binary string that will be transforming a number, and then we put the size there. And then we keep going. The type, that's field 40. We do the same trick. So we have type with an underscore, so we don't collide with the reserved function. Reserved? Yeah, it's a standard Python function, so we don't want to use that name. And then we have the price. Price is field 44. And here we're going to do a little different formatting. We're going to say we want 2 decimals. And because we have a float, so we're going to use a float, and then price. Probably you want to use some more intelligent thing because you can have some errors when you do like this and you're doing a lot of calculations, floating points and stuff. But for this little example, it's fine. And then we need to define the side, that is tag 54. We also do the thing where we put numbers side. And last but not least, we need 2 fields left. One is the symbol. I will put the symbol first. That is the symbol we have there, so we just symbol. And the last one is the more complicated one. It's the one we were talking before, that the current time. So I'm just going to paste it here. And then finish the message, press enter. We have a message object. So if you see the message, there it is. We can do things like message.get field. Let's say any number, and we get the value or the value. Everything's fine. And then we have this, and that's a thing we can actually send. On a different tutorial, I will show what happens with the message, but what happens is that between the, I will explain now, between the field 35 and the rest of the fields here, it will add the session will add some other fields, like the sequence number of the message, that is a unique incremental number in the session, or the identifier for our finance company, the company we're with that is sending the message, or and the market we are connecting to. So there are some header fields that need to be put there and stuff like that. That's handled automatically by the session. and it will alter the message and put them there. Actually, it will generate a new message with this message and put the extra fields there. So let's say you want to add another field. One thing we can do with messages, we can add them, like you can do message plus, say, a new message with a new field. Let's say that generates a new object with some weird stuff. We can also append to the message, and then we append a pair of tag and value. Oh, sorry. When we do that, we just put the two here. So it just receives the tag and value separated. It does not receive a pair. So here we have the message. And you can see that when we use add, we create a new object, but here we are altering the same. The other way to alter messages is we can ask for any pair. It's like a list, so you can iterate too. Let's say for pair message print. So here you can iterate through the message and see stuff. This is one of the things that I couldn't do when using quick fix for Python. Also, I know there is a fork that uses Python 3 somewhere, but it seems to be abandoned, so you cannot do that too. And also, I had some issues with messages that go out of scope in C++, but we keep the reference in Python and then crash. So that's that's part of the reasons why I did Slowbreak. So here we have the message that we did, and then you can do things like slicing. So you have another message object. You can see that the message object is quite flexible, and you can do whatever, and some message object can be sent to the market, but in general, messages and parts of messages are all of the same type. So you can do things like combine messages and take parts of messages and stuff, and it works. You see here there's another message object. So that makes it really easy to combine stuff, and then this will be used when we are doing groups. But groups are a quite quirky, weird thing of fix. So I will leave that for a different video. So let me know in the comments if you have any doubts or issues, and I will see if I can address them in future tutorials. So see you next time, and hope you enjoy it. And remember that if you do a lot of money with Slowbreak, please remember me, and remember that I made it possible. So just share a little bit, and see you next time. Bye bye.